If perfection had a face, everyone agreed it would be Grace Amos. She was the pride of Kingdom Fire Chapel, the jewel of Pastor Amos and Mama Ruth. On Sundays, she would walk into church like a glowing star, Bible in hand, dressed in a long gown that swept the floor. Her face was always bare, no makeup, no lipstick, just pure holiness. She never missed morning devotion, midweek service, choir rehearsals, or Bible study. In fact, she led most of them. "Ah, this girl is heaven sent," Mama Nkechi would say. "She is the kind of daughter I pray for," another woman would whisper to her friend. Young girls in church admired her. Parents pointed at her as an example. Even Pastor Amos often used her in his sermons. "My daughter Grace is not only beautiful, but also righteous. Let your daughters be like her," he once said during a youth service. But no one knew that Grace was tired of the prayers, tired of the church, tired of being perfect. Every day, the same boring routine, church, Bible, prayers, fake smiles, she once wrote secretly in her journal. "When will I live for me? Not for Dad, not for Mom, just me." Because by night, Grace was not the same girl they all clapped for. At night, she became someone else, entirely. The skirts became short, the blouses turned into crop tops. Her long, natural hair became wigs. Her Bible was replaced by a small purse and red lipstick, and the holy voice that once sang worship now whispered sweet nothings to men in lounges and hotel rooms. In nightclubs and private parties, she was known by another name, Slay Mama G. Nobody connected Pastor Amos's daughter with the girl dancing on tables at Lagus Lounge or taking shots at Club Galaxy. She was too smart for that. She never stayed in one place too long. She always left before sunrise, and she never used her real name. Only a few people knew her secret, and they knew better than to talk. To the world, she was still Pastor's angel, but Grace was dancing on a time bomb. And one night, her two worlds would collide in the worst way. The moonlight never judged her. It only followed her as she walked down the street, hips swaying, heels clicking, wig bouncing. From Grace Amos, she became Slay Mama G, the kind of girl men stared at and women rolled their eyes at. She slipped into Club Galaxy, one of the hottest spots in town. The bouncers greeted her with smiles. "Ah, ah, see fine, babe," one of them said. "Welcome back, Slay Mama G." Inside, the music pounded through her bones. Colored lights danced across her glittering dress. She winked at the bartender, who already knew her order. "1 Hennessy, 3 cubes of ice," she said confidently. As she sipped her drink, a man in designer clothes and gold chains approached. He smiled like he owned the world. "You shine brighter every night," he said. She smiled. "You're not bad yourself." She wasn't here to find love. She was here for fun, money, and escape. At 2 a.m., she left the club and got into a Benz with the man. Before they even reached the hotel, he handed her an envelope filled with cash. "Just for your time," he said. She felt powerful, free, beautiful. But when she got home at 4 a.m., her power disappeared. She threw off her clothes, cleaned off the makeup, and opened her Bible. She knew her parents would check her room by morning. By 6 a.m., she was kneeling in her room, eyes closed, voice soft. "Father, thank you for your mercy. Thank you for today. I surrender all to you." She knew how to play the part. No one suspected a thing. No one, except Tonya. Tonya had been her best friend since childhood, and lately she was starting to notice the late-night disappearances, the mysterious phone calls, the heavy perfumes, the lies. One day after choir practice, Tonya confronted her. "Grace, are you okay?" "Of course. Why wouldn't I be?" Grace replied with a smile too quick. "I don't know. You just feel different, like you're hiding something." Grace's smile faded. "You're imagining things, Tonya. I'm fine." But Tonya wasn't convinced. She had seen someone who looked like Grace at a club 2 weeks ago, and if her suspicion was right, something bad was coming, something very bad. Grace stood before her mirror, staring at her reflection. One face, two lives. By day, she was a church girl, pastor's daughter, pure, modest, holy. But by night, she was wild, bold, untamed. "Why do I have to live their dream?" she whispered to herself. "Why should my life be a sermon every day? Do I even have a choice?" She sat on her bed, arms folded. Her Bible lay open, but untouched. She remembered her father's voice that morning during family devotion. "Grace, you are chosen. God has a special assignment for you." "Yes, Daddy," she replied, smiling as if she believed it. But inside, she was screaming. All her life, people only saw her through one lens, Pastor Amos's daughter. That title came with expectations she never asked for. No trousers, no makeup, no hanging out, no friends that weren't from church, no parties, no fun. Her entire life was one long performance. She didn't hate God, but she hated the prison that came with being a perfect daughter of Zion. One day at school, a group of girls invited her to an after-party. "We know you won't come," one of them joked. "You're a pastor's daughter. You probably don't even know what fun feels like." Grace laughed along, pretending not to care. But that night, she sneaked out and went. That was the beginning of her secret life. And now, 2 years later, she was neck-deep in it. She knew how to hide, how to smile, how to lie, and how to fake holiness. But something was starting to change. Lately, she had been feeling empty. Even the clubs weren't exciting anymore. The money was nice, yes. The attention, addictive. But when the lights went off and she lay alone in her room, she felt hollow. She looked at her phone. 10 missed calls from Tonya. "Not now, I beg." Just then, a message popped up from a contact, saved as Mr. Jan. "I want to see you tonight. Big pay. Dressed to kill." Her heart skipped. He was new, wealthy, mysterious, and very generous. She replied, "Where should I meet you?" He sent the address. It was a private hotel on the outskirts of town. Grace smiled to herself. Maybe tonight would feel different. Maybe she would finally feel alive again. She got up, walked to her wardrobe, and opened a box hidden under her clothes. Inside were heels, wigs, lipsticks, and revealing dresses no one in her church could ever imagine she owned. "My life, my rules," she said aloud, and with that she began her transformation, but she didn't know. Mr. Jan wasn't just rich, he was also dangerous. The night air was thick with perfume, danger, and desire. Grace stepped out of the ride-hailing car in front of Royal Bliss Hotel, dressed to slay, killer heels, glittering dress, bold lashes, and lips like red velvet. She tossed her hair, confident and untouchable. Mr. Jan was waiting at the lobby entrance, tall, dark, dripping in wealth and mystery. A thick gold chain peeked out from under his white designer shirt. His wristwatch screamed money. "You look like sin," he said, flashing a slow smile. "And you look like trouble," Grace replied, twirling for him. They laughed and walked in. Upstairs in the VIP suite, the lights were dim, music low, and the drinks expensive. Grace eased into the leather couch like she owned the world. Mr. John poured her a drink. "You're not like other girls." Grace smiled. "I know." He handed her a thick wad of cash, just for showing up. Her heart raced. This was her kind of man. Generous, smooth, and secretive. But then something shifted. He locked the suite door. "Relax," he said, sensing her tension. "You're safe here." Safe? Why did he need to say that? He asked her deep questions no other man bothered to ask. "Why do you really do this? Does your family know?" "What would you be without the makeup and heels?" Grace stiffened. "Let's not talk about that," she said quickly, hiding behind a seductive smile. But Mr. Jan kept pressing. It was as if he wanted to get under her skin, not just her clothes. Before she left, he handed her a second envelope, much heavier. "Come again tomorrow," he said. Grace smiled and nodded, but as she walked out of the suite, her heart felt unsettled. There was something about him that didn't feel right. The next day, while she sat in church beside her mother during the Sunday Youth Thanksgiving, she could still smell his cologne on her skin. As the choir sang praises, her mind drifted back to the suite. "Grace, lead the prayer," Pastor Amos announced suddenly. She jumped. "Yes, sir." Everyone stood. Grace grabbed the mic and closed her eyes. "Heavenly Father, we thank you for your mercy, for your light." Her voice was smooth, her tone holy, but guilt throbbed in her chest. As she returned to her seat, whispers floated around. "This girl is too spiritual. I want my daughter to be like her." Such a blessing to the youth. She smiled, but her hands were trembling. That evening, Tonya came over uninvited. "Grace, we need to talk." "About what?" "I saw you last night." Grace froze. "You were getting into a car outside Royal Bliss," Tonya said. "You were dressed like someone else." Grace scoffed. "So now you spy on me?" "Grace, I'm your friend. I'm worried. You're not who you used to be." Grace's face turned cold. "You don't know me, Tonya. You only know what I let you see." "God sees the rest," Tonya whispered. There was silence. Then Grace stood up. "Please leave." As Tonya walked away, tears welled in her eyes. Grace watched her go and muttered, "I'm not the one who's lost. I'm finally free." But even she didn't believe that anymore, because Mr. Jan had just sent her another message. "Come tonight. I'll introduce you to my friends. You'll make even more money." She stared at the screen. Money. More parties. More secrets. That night, Grace found herself standing in front of a black gate, with no signboard, no lights, just a silent building surrounded by silence and secrets. Mr. Jan had sent the address with a short message. VIP party. No phones, no names, just vibes. She hesitated. Her spirit was restless, but curiosity pushed her forward. The gate opened. A guard, eyes hard, face blank, scanned her up and down before waving her in. Inside was a mansion. Flashing lights, loud, foreign music, bottles popping, girls laughing, men smoking, security men everywhere. It wasn't just a party. It was a jungle. Mr. Jan appeared from nowhere and wrapped his arm around her waist. "You're late," he said with a smirk. "Had to look good," she replied, forcing a smile. He led her inside. The living room was huge, filled with expensive furniture and even more expensive people, businessmen, politicians, celebrities, and girls Grace had only seen on Instagram. "Tonight, you make connections," Mr. Jan whispered. "Smile. Be nice." 2 hours later, Grace was tipsy, laughing with strangers, dancing on velvet floors, pretending to enjoy herself. But deep down, something wasn't right. Then came the moment she would never forget. Mr. Jan introduced her to a tall, lean man named Captain. the nickname everyone called him. "This one is a big spender," Mr. John whispered. "Make him happy. You'll be flying to Dubai by morning." Captain smiled at her with a hungry look. "I like fresh ones." The statement froze her. "Excuse me?" she asked, trying to play it off. "You're new here, right?" he said. "Don't worry. I'll go easy." Something about his voice, his eyes, his aura, it screamed evil. Grace turned to Mr. January. "I'm not comfortable." Mr. Jan's face changed. "You think I brought you here to eat rice?" She stepped back. "This wasn't the deal. You're mine tonight. You take what I give." When Grace tried to leave, 2 guards blocked her way. Her breath caught. She was trapped. Captain stood up, eyes now glowing with lust and power. "Bring her upstairs." Grace screamed, "Don't touch me!" But they dragged her. She fought, bit, kicked, cried, prayed. Upstairs, in one of the private rooms, evil happened. And when it was over, she lay there, broken, her dress torn, her body bruised, her spirit shattered. The next morning, she woke up alone in the room, her things gone. No money, no dignity, only blood, bruises, and tears. Somehow she found a wrapper and covered herself. She staggered out of the mansion like a mad woman. On the street, no one looked at her. She was invisible, a shadow. By the time she got home, it was already mid-morning. She snuck in through the back door and went straight to her room, locked the door, and collapsed on the floor. She cried and cried. For the first time in 2 years, she picked up her Bible, but she couldn't even open it. "God, why?" she whispered. "Is this the freedom I wanted? I just wanted to be me. I didn't want this." Meanwhile, in church, Pastor Amos and his wife were waiting for Grace to come and give her usual youth choir solo. "Where is she?" her mother whispered, checking her phone. No reply, no clue. But something was shifting. Whispers began to circulate. Someone had seen a photo from the party. Someone else had recognized her. Within hours, screenshots had started spreading on WhatsApp groups and anonymous blogs. By evening, the caption was everywhere. "Pastor's daughter caught in dark underground party." And before she could even catch her breath, the whole world knew. Sunday evening came with a storm, not from the sky, but from phones buzzing all over town. In WhatsApp groups, church forums, and even Facebook posts, photos and videos of Grace from the party were everywhere. In one clip, she danced seductively with a glass in hand. In another, a man whispered in her ear while she laughed in a way no pastor's daughter ever should. The caption? PDP, Pastor's Daughter of Promiscuity. In the pastor's house, Pastor Amos stared at his phone in silence. His wife, Sister Margaret, had already fainted once. "Grace, my Grace," he muttered in disbelief. He replayed the video, hoping it was a mistake. But the girl on the screen, half naked, laughing with criminals, was definitely his daughter. In the church, church members were furious, confused, and disappointed. So, all this prayer and choir leading was fake? We told our daughters to be like her. How do we trust Pastor Amos again? The church elders called for an emergency meeting. Meanwhile, in her room, Grace sat in bed, staring at her phone, too ashamed to even cry. Messages flooded in, some mocking, some angry, some just silent. Her friend Tonya called over and over again. She didn't answer. She had finally hit the bottom. And now, the same people who once praised her holiness were dragging her name through the mud. Her double life was no longer a secret. The whole world knew. The perfect daughter, the powerful slay queen, the exposed sinner, And this was only the beginning. The next morning, Grace finally came out of her room, eyes swollen, face pale, body weak. She met her father in the living room. Pastor Amos sat quietly, Bible in hand, but he wasn't reading it. He just stared at her. "Grace," he said softly, "is it true?" Tears welled up in her eyes. She couldn't speak. She nodded slowly. Her mother gasped and burst into fresh tears. "I warned you. I warned you to stop keeping secrets," she cried. "Where did we go wrong?" her father asked, voice cracking. "I was tired," Grace whispered. "Tired of being perfect. Tired of pretending." Her father stood up. "You were supposed to be a light, a model to others." "I never wanted this life," she snapped, then broke down. "I just wanted to be free." Church members had started gathering. Some came to pray, others came to gossip. Reporters showed up with cameras. "Is it true the pastor's daughter is into prostitution?" "They say she was at a criminal party." "I heard the man she followed was an armed robber." Grace hid as her father stepped out to face the people. His hands trembled. He didn't deny it. He simply said, "My daughter has fallen, but let him who is without sin cast the first stone." Some were silent. Others shook their heads and walked away. Grace looked at her reflection in the mirror. The lashes, the wigs, the fake smiles, they were all gone. She finally knelt beside her bed, and for the first time in years she prayed, truly prayed. "God, if you're still there, help me. I'm lost." The road to repentance had begun, but forgiveness wouldn't come so easily, because some scars don't fade. Just when Grace thought things couldn't get worse, a new twist came. Her closest friend in church, Naomi, the one she used to confide in, shared screenshots of their private chats online. "She's been living this life for long," Naomi posted. "She once told me church was boring. I tried to warn her." The chats included secrets, how Grace used to sneak out, lie about church programs, and fake spiritual dreams. Grace stared at the screenshots in disbelief. Naomi? My own friend. The betrayal cut deeper than public shame. The elders asked Pastor Amos to step down temporarily. "Until things cool off," they said. Even though it wasn't his fault, they said his family had brought shame to the altar. Pastor Amos quietly agreed, though his heart was heavy. His wife, Sister Margaret, cried every night. She avoided people, too ashamed to go to the market. Grace saw how much pain she caused, and it broke her. "I've not just ruined myself. I've dragged my whole family down." That night, Tonya texted Grace, "Let's disappear to Lagos. Start over. No one knows us there." For a second, Grace was tempted, but she looked at her sleeping parents and shook her head. "Running is what got me here in the first place." She decided, no more lies, no more hiding, no more masks. The journey to healing would be hard, but it was time to face everything fully. A week after the scandal, Grace returned to church, not as a choir lead, not as the pastor's daughter, but as a broken girl seeking mercy. She wore a simple gown, no makeup, no heels. Her head was covered. Her heart was heavy. As she walked in, whispers followed her like shadows. "See her? She still get mine come church?" So after sleeping around, she now wants forgiveness? She's only back because she was caught. Even the girls she once led in the youth choir refused to sit near her. The pastor speaks her father, no longer preaching that Sunday, asked the guest pastor to allow him speak briefly. He stood before the congregation, his voice firm. "Yes, my daughter fell. Yes, she brought shame. But this house is a place of grace. If we only welcome the righteous, then we are no better than the Pharisees. Some clapped slowly. Others just frowned and folded their arms. After service, Grace waited behind to clean the chairs. A few members ignored her. One woman hissed loudly and said, "Let her sweep too. Maybe the dirt in her heart will go." Grace heard it, but she said nothing. Instead, she whispered, "Lord, give me strength. I want to change." Back home. That night, she knelt before her parents. "I'm sorry," she said, crying. "Not just for the disgrace, but for living a lie for so long. I was empty inside." Her mother hugged her, weeping. Pastor Amos placed his hands on her head and prayed, "Lord, restore what the devil tried to destroy." The healing had begun. But the world wasn't ready to forget. Grace had started avoiding her old hangout spots. No clubs, no flashy photos, just quiet time with God, morning jogs, and helping in the church, even though many still looked at her with suspicion. But one morning, on her way to the church office, she bumped into someone. Literally. A young man, carrying church donation items, accidentally collided with her. "Ah, sorry," he said, laughing gently. "My hands were full." She looked up, and for the first time in a while, she smiled. He introduced himself as Daniel, a new member in town, assigned to assist with media in the church. He didn't mention her scandal. He didn't judge. He treated her like a normal person. "You serve well," he said. "You clean better than some of the holy people here." Grace laughed. It felt genuine. Later that evening, Tonya called her. "I heard you're spending time with one Daniel guy. Be careful, oh. I know him from school. He's smooth and not as innocent as he acts." Grace froze. Could this be another test? Another trap dressed like a blessing? Or was this part of her healing? One thing was clear. Her heart was beginning to feel again. But this time, she didn't want to rush. She prayed that night, seriously. "God, if Daniel is a distraction, take him away. But if he's part of the journey, help me walk wisely." The drama was not over. New feelings, old temptations, and a test of true change was approaching. 2 weeks passed. Grace stayed focused. No parties, no lies. She continued volunteering in church, avoiding drama. Daniel kept showing up, offering help, cracking jokes, treating her kindly. Slowly, Grace began to trust him. But then one evening, an old friend returned. Melody, Grace's former nightlife buddy, walked into her compound, dressed in luxury. Nails sharp, lashes long, perfume heavy. "Grace, babe, how far? I hear say you be born again now. For real?" Grace forced a smile. "Yes, Melody. I'm taking life seriously now." Melody laughed. "A beg-leave story. See, there's a big birthday party tomorrow. VIPs, free food, rich guys. Let's go and enjoy small. No strings." "Just come. You don't even have to do anything wild," she added. The inner struggle. That night, Grace sat on her bed, thinking. She had nothing to wear. But Melody promised to bring her an outfit. She didn't have transport. Melody would cover it. A voice in her head whispered, "One party won't kill you. Daniel doesn't need to know. God will forgive you after." But deep inside, she also remembered the last time she gave in. The next evening, she stood in front of the mirror, wearing a glittering green gown Melody brought. She looked stunning, almost like her old self. She held her phone to text Daniel, but paused, then looked at herself one last time and whispered, "God, I want to go back, but please, pull me back." Grace stood outside her gate, dressed like her old self again, glamorous, tempting, stunning. Melody honked from a sleek red car. Get in, baby girl. Grace hesitated. Something felt off. But before she could decide, her phone buzzed. It was Daniel. Hey, I was just praying and had a strong feeling to check on you. You good? Her fingers trembled. One choice, ride with Melody to a wild night. Another choice, reply Daniel, and stay home. She took a deep breath and turned back. I'm not going, she whispered, stepping inside. Around 11 p.m., news broke online. Police raid Lecky Lounge. 13 girls arrested for drug possession and indecent exposure. One girl jumped from the rooftop, hospitalized. Grace's heart dropped. She called Melody. No response. Later, she saw a video clip. Melody being dragged into a van, her dress torn, screaming at officers. Grace gasped and fell to her knees. That could have been me. The next day, Daniel came to see her. She confessed everything, how she almost went, how tempted she was, how God pulled her back. Daniel looked at her for a long moment and said, You're stronger than you think, Grace. You chose right. Not many people do. For the first time, Grace smiled with peace in her heart. But the drama wasn't over yet. Melody was angry. Others were gossiping. And someone from Grace's past had returned with revenge in mind. One quiet evening, Grace stepped out to buy food from the roadside. A tinted car pulled up beside her. The window rolled down. It was Deji, one of her old customers. Grace, baby, so this is where you've been hiding? He said with a sly smile. She froze. I hear say you dey form holy girl now. But me, I no forget our sweet nights. He chuckled darkly. Grace turned to leave, but he grabbed her hand. You owe me, and I always collect. She yanked her hand and ran. Later. That night, a stone crashed into their compound window. A note was attached. Holy or not, I'm coming for you. Grace dropped to her knees. God, protect me. I can't fight this alone. Grace didn't sleep that night. By morning, her parents had read the note. Pastor Amos tightened security around the house, but fear hung in the air. Meanwhile, in church, some members began to murmur again. Trouble follows her everywhere. Maybe she's cursed. She's bringing darkness to this church. Even her father's position was being questioned. During midweek service, Daniel stood up during testimony time. This girl has faced more battles than most of us ever will, yet she's still standing. If the church rejects the wounded, then who are we really serving? The room went silent. For the first time, people looked at Grace with something different. Respect. But outside, Deji wasn't done. He had a plan. And Grace's past was about to collide with her present. One final time, it was a Friday night. Rain poured. The streets were quiet. Grace was alone at home. Her parents had gone for a minister's retreat. She heard a knock, then another, then a kick. The door flew open. Deji, drunk, angry, dangerous. You thought you could ignore me? He growled, staggering in. You can't just walk away from people like me. Grace backed up, tears streaming. She screamed. He rushed forward. But then, Daniel burst in. He had come to drop her a Bible study guide. He tackled Deji to the floor. Neighbors rushed in. Police were called. Deji was arrested that night. News spread fast. The church realized how deep Grace's transformation had truly been. She faced her darkest past and didn't fall. Pastor Amos wept in church that Sunday, holding his daughter's hand as he said, Grace is not perfect, but grace saved her. The whole congregation clapped. Some cried. Yes, the internet never forgot her scandal. Yes, some people still mocked her. but she no longer hid. Grace joined a ministry helping young girls who were caught in secret lives, just like she once lived. She now told her story, not with shame, but with purpose.